The arena was completely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Every eye was fixed on the two figures standing in the center of the sand. Vorn stood frozen, his plasma sword still raised above his head. A thin line of green blood ran down his neck where Yuna's blade had touched him. His yellow eyes were wide, filled with something he had never felt before. Confusion, shock, and deep underneath, the first cold spark of fear. Yuna stepped back and lowered her sword. Her heart was pounding in her chest, but she kept her face calm. She had won. Against all expectations, against all the laughter and mockery, she had won. Master Burra rose from his seat. His old face showed no emotion, but his eyes were bright with interest. "The match goes to Yuna of Earth," he announced. "First blood has been drawn." The silence continued for another moment. Then, slowly, whispers began to spread through the crowd. The cadets could not believe what they had seen. The weak human with her primitive sword had defeated Vorn, the son of a general, one of the strongest fighters in the academy. Vorn lowered his sword. His hand was shaking. The thin cut on his neck was nothing, barely a scratch. But what it meant was everything. He had been touched. He had been beaten. By a human. "This is not over," he growled. His voice was low and dangerous. "You got lucky. That will not happen again." "The match is finished, Cadet Vorn," Master Burra said firmly. "Accept your loss with honor." Vorn's jaw tightened. For a moment, it looked like he might attack again, rules or no rules. But then he turned and walked away, his heavy footsteps leaving deep marks in the sand. Tira and his other friends followed, their faces dark with anger. Yuna wrapped her sword back in its cloth. Her hands were steady now. She walked toward the exit, ignoring the stares that followed her. She was almost at the door when she heard footsteps behind her. Fast footsteps, running. "Wait!" Yuna turned. A young cadet was hurrying toward her. He was human, like her, with kind eyes and messy black hair. His name was Dohan, and he was one of the few other humans at the academy. They had never spoken before. "That was amazing," Dohan said, slightly out of breath. "I have never seen anyone move like that. Where did you learn to fight?" Yuna looked at him carefully. His smile seemed genuine. His eyes held no mockery, only honest curiosity. "My grandmother taught me," she said. "Your grandmother must have been incredible." Dohan fell into step beside her as she walked. "I trained with plasma weapons like everyone else. Standard military stuff. But what you did out there, that was different. That was art." Yuna did not know what to say. She was not used to compliments. Back home, her grandmother had always found something to correct, something to improve. Praise was rare and precious. They walked through the academy's long hallways. The purple sunset filled the windows with soft light. Other cadets moved aside as they passed, looking at Yuna with new eyes. She was not invisible anymore. "You should be careful," Dohan said quietly. His voice had changed, become serious. "Vorn does not accept defeat easily. He comes from a proud family. His father is General Cross, commander of the Third Fleet. They have a lot of power. I am not afraid of him," Yuna said. "I know. But being brave and being smart are not the same thing." Dohan stopped walking and faced her. "Vorn will want revenge. Not in the arena, where there are rules and witnesses. Somewhere else. Somewhere dark." Yuna thought about this. She knew Dohan was right. She had embarrassed Vorn in front of everyone. His pride would not let him forget that. "Thank you for the warning," she said. "I will be careful." Dohan nodded. "Good. And if you ever need help, I am in room 347. We humans should stick together, right?" He smiled and walked away, disappearing around a corner. Yuna watched him go, feeling a small warmth in her chest. Maybe she was not as alone as she thought. The next few days were strange. The other cadets treated Yuna differently now. Some avoided her, not wanting trouble. Others watched her with grudging respect. A few even tried to talk to her, asking about her sword and her fighting style, but Vorn and his friends stayed away. They did not speak to her. They did not even look at her. It was like she did not exist. This worried Yuna more than their insults had. Silence was often more dangerous than noise. On the 7th day, something happened that changed everything. Yuna was practicing alone in one of the smaller training rooms. It was early morning, before most cadets woke up. She liked this time, when the academy was quiet and peaceful. The door opened. Yuna stopped mid-swing and turned to look down. An old man stood in the doorway. He was human, tall and thin, with white hair and a face full of wrinkles. He wore the gray uniform of an instructor, but Yuna had never seen him in any of her classes. The old man's eyes went to her sword. And then something strange happened. His face went pale. His hands trembled. He took a step back like he had seen a ghost. "Where did you get that blade?" he whispered. Yuna was confused by his reaction. "It was my grandmother's. She gave it to me before she died." The old man walked closer, slowly, carefully. His eyes never left the sword. When he was close enough, he reached out with shaking fingers, but did not touch it. "The water pattern," he murmured. "The color of the steel. The symbols on the handle." He looked up at Yuna's face. "What was your grandmother's name?" "Suk. Her name was Suk." The old man closed his eyes. A single tear ran down his wrinkled cheek. "Suk," he repeated softly. "I knew her. A long time ago. Before she left Earth. Before she chose to forget." "You knew my grandmother?" Yuna's heart was beating fast. "Who are you?" The old man opened his eyes. They were dark brown, full of old pain and older memories. "My name is Instructor Kang, and that sword you hold. Do you know what it is?" Yuna looked down at the blade. "It is a family treasure. Very old. My grandmother said it was made by our ancestors." "Your grandmother told you very little, it seems." Kang walked around her, looking at the sword from different angles. "This blade is not just old. It is ancient. Older than the Academy. Older than the Galactic Federation. Older than most species in the known universe." Yuna felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" Kang stopped in front of her. His face was deadly serious. "Long ago, before humans forgot their history, we were not the weak species the galaxy thinks we are. We were hunters, warriors. We fought things that the other species cannot even imagine. Things from the dark between the stars. Things that ate worlds and drank suns. Titans," Yuna whispered. The word came to her like a memory from a dream. Kang nodded. "Yes, the Titans. Massive beings of pure destruction. They came to Earth when our planet was young. They should have wiped us out like they wiped out so many others. But they did not. Why not?" The old man pointed at her sword. "Because of that. Because human smiths learned to forge blades that could cut through anything. Metal folded 1,000 times. Cooled in the blood of fallen titans. Touched by something the galaxy has forgotten." Yuna stared at her grandmother's sword. It looked the same as always. Dark and simple and quiet. But now she saw it differently. Now she understood why it felt so heavy in her hands. It was not just metal. It was history. It was power. It was proof that humans were once something more. "Vorn has challenged you again," Kang said suddenly. "A private match. No rules. No witnesses. He wants to hurt you, Yuna. Maybe kill you. How do you know this?" "I hear things." Kang's face was grim. "He thinks you are weak. He thinks your sword is a toy. He's wrong, but his ignorance will not protect you. He is still dangerous. Still deadly. Yuna gripped her sword tighter. What should I do? Kang was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Show him the truth. Show him what human steel can really do. And when you face him, remember this. That metal was not forged to fight soldiers or cut through armor. That metal was forged to cut titans. The words hung in the air like thunder. Yuna looked into the old instructor's eyes and saw something there. Pride, hope, and underneath it all, the fierce fire of a warrior who had never forgotten what humanity once was. I understand, she said, and for the first time since arriving at the academy, Yuna smiled. The transport ship landed with a soft hum on the silver platform of the Galactic Combat Academy. Yuna stepped out slowly, carrying a long cloth bundle against her chest. She held it the way a mother holds a sleeping child. The morning sun of planet Nexer was bright purple, and it made her squint as she looked at the massive building ahead. The academy was famous across 50 star systems. Warriors came from every corner of the galaxy to train here. They learned to fight with plasma rifles, energy shields, and weapons powered by dying stars. Only the best fighters earned a place in these halls. Yuna was the first human to be accepted in 30 years. She walked toward the main gate, her simple shoes making quiet sounds on the metal ground. Other cadets were arriving too. She saw tall beings with blue skin and 4 arms. She saw creatures made of living stone, their bodies glowing with inner fire. She saw thin figures with silver eyes that reflected everything like mirrors. They all carried impressive weapons. Plasma swords hung from their belts. Energy rifles rested on their shoulders. Shield generators wrapped around their wrists like bracelets. Everything was shiny and new and humming with power. Yuna looked down at her cloth bundle. The fabric was old and brown, worn soft by many hands over many years. Inside was her grandmother's sword. It had no power source, no energy core, no computer chip. It was just metal, folded and hammered by human hands a very long time ago. She entered the main hall. It was huge, with ceilings so high she could barely see them. Hundreds of new cadets stood in groups, talking and showing off their weapons. The noise was loud and confusing. Yuna found a quiet corner and waited. She did not know anyone here. She did not speak the common galactic language very well. Back on Earth, her grandmother had taught her the old ways. She learned to move like water and strike like thunder. She trained in the mountains, where the air was thin and cold. She practiced until her hands bled, and then practiced more. Her grandmother had died last spring. The sword was all Yuna had left of her. A shadow fell over her. Yuna looked up and saw a group of cadets standing in a half circle around her. The one in front was very tall, maybe 3 meters high. His skin was dark green and covered with hard scales. His eyes were yellow with black slits, like a snake. His name was Vorn, and he was the son of a famous general. What is this? Vorn asked, pointing at Yuna's bundle. His voice was deep and rough. Did you bring your laundry to the academy? The cadets behind him laughed. There were 5 of them. A blue female with sharp teeth. 2 rock beings that moved slowly. A thin silver creature. And another green one, smaller than VORN.YUN. A did not answer. She just held her bundle closer. Vorn stepped forward. He was so tall that Yuna had to tilt her head all the way back to see his face. I asked you a question, human. What is in that bundle? A sword, Yuna said quietly. More laughter. Vorn shook his head like he had heard a funny joke. A sword? You mean like those primitive metal sticks your species used to hit each other with? Before you learned about real weapons? Yes, Yuna said. A sword. Vorn turned to his friends. Did you hear that? The human brought a sword. Not a plasma blade. Not an energy cutter. A sword. He said the word like it tasted bad in his mouth. the blue female pushed forward. Her name was Tira, and she was known for her cruel words. Maybe she thinks this is a museum. Should we show her where the ancient history section is? Maybe she cannot afford real weapons, one of the rock beings said. His voice sounded like stones grinding together. Humans are a poor species, yes? They still fight over water and land on their little planet. Yuna felt her face grow hot. She wanted to say something. She wanted to tell them that her grandmother's sword was worth more than all their shiny weapons combined. But the words would not come. She was alone in a strange place, surrounded by beings who saw her as nothing. Vaughn reached out with one of his clawed hands. Let me see this sword. I want to laugh properly. Yuna stepped back. No. The smile disappeared from Vaughn's face. His yellow eyes grew cold. No? Did you just say no to me, human? The hall had grown quiet. Other cadets were watching now. Yuna could feel their eyes on her, waiting to see what would happen. The sword is mine, Yuna said. Her voice was small but steady. I will not show it for your entertainment. Vaughn leaned down until his face was close to hers. His breath smelled like metal and smoke. You think you are brave? You think your little metal stick makes you special? Let me tell you something, human. You do not belong here. Your species is weak. You have no natural weapons. No claws, no armor, no venom. You are soft and breakable, like insects. He stood up straight and looked at his friends. I give her 1 week. 1 week before she runs back to her mudball planet, crying for her mother. Tira laughed. 1 week? You are too kind, Vaughn. I say 3 days. They walked away, still laughing. Yuna stood alone in her corner, holding her grandmother's sword. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. She was angry. Angry at their words. Angry at their pride. Angry at herself for not speaking up. She looked around the hall. No one met her eyes. They all looked away, not wanting to get involved. She was nothing to them. Just a weak human with a rusty old sword. But deep inside, Yuna felt something else. A quiet voice that sounded like her grandmother. It said, let them laugh. When the time comes, you will show them what human steel can do. She found her room later that evening. It was small and simple, with a bed, a desk, and a window that showed the purple sky. She unwrapped the sword and laid it on the bed. The blade was dark gray, almost black, with patterns that looked like flowing water. It was not pretty like the other weapons. It did not glow or hum. But when she held it, she felt her grandmother's hands around hers. I will not run, Yuna whispered to the empty room. I will stay. I will train. I will show them. Outside her window, the 2 moons of Nexa rose slowly into the sky. Somewhere in the academy, Vaughn was probably still telling everyone about the stupid human with the ancient sword. But Yuna did not care anymore. She had made a promise. And she intended to keep it. 3 days passed at the academy. Yuna kept her head down and worked hard. She woke up before the sun and trained alone in the empty practice rooms. She ran laps around the building until her legs burned. She practiced with her sword when no one was watching, moving through the forms her grandmother had taught her. The other cadets ignored her mostly. Sometimes they whispered when she walked by. Sometimes they laughed. But Yuna did not care. She was here to learn, not to make friends. The classes were difficult. The instructors taught combat techniques from 100 different worlds. They showed how to use plasma weapons, how to fight in zero gravity, how to survive in poison air. Yuna understood only half of what they said, but she watched carefully and practiced everything twice. On the 4th day, everything changed. It was afternoon, and the cadets had gathered in the main training arena. This was a huge circular room with sand on the floor and seats rising up on all sides like a bowl. Today was evaluation day. The instructors wanted to see what the new cadets could do. Yuna sat in the back row, watching. One by one, cadets went down to the sand and showed their skills. The blue female Tira moved like lightning with her plasma whip. The rock beings smashed training dummies into dust with their stone fists. Vorn fought against 3 robotic opponents at once and destroyed them all. Without breaking a sweat, the crowd cheered for each display of power. Yuna watched and learned. These beings were strong, yes. They were fast and deadly. But she noticed something too. They fought with force, not with thought. They attacked directly, without tricks or traps. They trusted their weapons to do the work. Her grandmother had taught her differently. A sword is not a hammer, the old woman used to say. You do not swing it and hope for the best. You watch your enemy. You find his weakness. Then you cut quick and clean. The evaluations went on for hours. Finally, when the sun was low in the purple sky, the head instructor called out, "Yuna of Earth, please come to the arena." The hall fell silent. Every eye turned to look at the human girl in the back row. Yuna felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. She stood up slowly and walked down the steps, her grandmother's sword wrapped in cloth under her arm. The sand was soft under her feet. The arena felt much bigger from the inside. Thousands of faces looked down at her from the seats above. The head instructor was an old creature with gray fur and kind eyes. His name was Master Bora, and he had trained warriors for over 200 years. He looked at Yuna with something like curiosity. "Show us your weapon, cadet," he said. Yuna unwrapped the cloth. The sword caught the light from the floating lamps above. It did not glow or sparkle. It just sat there in her hands, dark and quiet. Whispers spread through the crowd. Yuna heard words like primitive and useless and what a joke. Master Bora tilted his head. "This is an unusual weapon. Very old. Where did you get it?" "From my grandmother," Yuna said. "It has been in my family for many generations." "I see." Master Bora nodded slowly. "And you wish to train with this weapon? Not a modern one?" "Yes, Master." Before Bora could speak again, a voice rang out from the crowd. "Master Bora, I request a challenge match." Everyone turned to look. Vorn was standing in his seat, his yellow eyes fixed on Yuna like a predator watching prey. Master Bora frowned. "Challenge matches are for the second year. Cadet Vorn, first-year students are not ready. With respect, Master, I believe this is a special case." Vorn jumped down from the seats and landed on the sand with a heavy thump. "The human claims she can fight with that thing. I say she cannot. Let us find out the truth." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some cadets looked excited. Others looked worried. Tira was laughing in her seat, already sure of the outcome. Master Bora looked at Yuna. "Cadet, you do not have to accept this challenge. Vorn is one of our strongest fighters. There is no shame in refusing." Yuna looked at Vorn. He was smiling, showing rows of sharp teeth. He wanted to humiliate her in front of everyone. He wanted to prove that humans were weak, that she did not belong here. She thought about her grandmother. The old woman had never run from a fight in her life. Even at the end, when she was sick and tired, she still trained every day. She used to say, "A warrior does not choose easy paths. A warrior walks through fire and comes out stronger." "I accept," Yuna said. The crowd erupted in noise. Some cheered. Some gasped. Vorn's smile grew wider. "Excellent," he said. "This will be fun." Master Bora raised his hand for silence. "Very well. This will be a standard match. First to draw blood or force surrender wins. Lethal force is forbidden. Understood?" Both fighters nodded. Vorn pulled out his weapon. It was a plasma sword, bright blue and humming with energy. The blade was twice as long as Yuna's and glowed hot enough to melt steel. He swung it through the air a few times, showing off. Yuna took a deep breath and raised her grandmother's sword. The dark blade looked small and dull compared to Vorn's weapon, but she could feel its weight in her hands, familiar and comforting. She had practiced 10,000 cuts with this sword. She knew every scratch on its surface, every mark on its handle. Ready? Master Bora asked. Yuna nodded. Vorn grinned. Begin. Vorn did not wait. He charged forward like a storm, his plasma sword cutting through the air with a terrible screech. The attack was meant to end the fight in one blow. Fast, powerful, overwhelming. But Yuna was not there. She had moved to the side. Just a small step, just enough to let the blade pass by her shoulder. She felt the heat on her skin, so close it almost burned. But she did not flinch. Vorn stumbled past her, surprised. He spun around and attacked again, slashing left and right. Each cut was strong enough to split a training dummy in half. Each cut missed by less than a finger's width. Yuna kept moving. She did not attack. She did not block. She just moved, flowing around Vorn's strikes like water around a rock. Her feet barely touched the sand. Her breathing stayed calm and even. The crowd fell silent. They had expected to see the human fall in seconds. Instead, they watched her dance around the strongest cadet in the academy, like he was moving in slow motion. Vorn's face twisted with anger. Stand still and fight. He roared. He attacked faster, harder. His plasma sword was a blur of blue light. The sand beneath his feet turned to glass from the heat. Sweat dripped down his scales, but still, he could not touch her. Yuna watched his movements carefully. She saw how he shifted his weight before each strike. She saw how his right shoulder dropped when he was about to cut from the left. She saw the small gaps in his defense, the tiny moments when he was open. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. Wait for the moment. One cut. Make it count. Vorn raised his sword for a massive overhead strike. He put all his strength into it, all his frustration. The blade came down like a falling star. Yuna stepped inside his guard. For one heartbeat, they stood face to face. Vorn's eyes went wide with shock. He could not stop his attack. He could not change direction. Yuna moved her sword. The crowd gasped. Master Bora leaned forward in his seat. Even Tira stopped laughing. Yuna's blade touched Vorn's neck. Just a light touch. Just enough to leave a thin line of green blood on his scales. First blood. The match was over. The message came at midnight. A simple note, slipped under Yuna's door while she slept. She found it when she woke up. A small piece of paper with words written in harsh, angular letters. Old hanger, 1 hour before dawn, come alone, or everyone will know you are a coward. Yuna read the message 3 times. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. She was not surprised. Instructor Kang had warned her this would happen. Vorn could not accept his public defeat. He needed to prove himself, to restore his wounded pride. She got dressed in the darkness. Her movements were slow and careful, like she was preparing for something sacred. She wrapped her grandmother's sword in its cloth and held it against her heart for a moment. "Give me strength," she whispered. "Give me courage. Help me show them what we are." The academy was silent as she walked through its halls. Everyone was asleep. The floating lamps burned low, casting long shadows on the walls. Yuna's footsteps echoed in the empty corridors like a heartbeat. The old hangar was on the far side of the campus. It was a huge building where they used to store transport ships, but it had been abandoned for years. Now it just sat there, dark and forgotten, waiting. Yuna pushed open the heavy metal door. It groaned like a wounded animal. Inside, the hangar was vast and empty. lit only by the pale light of Nexer's two moons coming through broken windows in the ceiling. Vorn was already there. He stood in the center of the hangar, his plasma sword glowing blue in his hand. He was not alone. Tira stood behind him, her arms crossed, a cruel smile on her blue face. The two rock beings were there too, blocking the exits. And the thin silver creature watched from the shadows, its mirror eyes reflecting everything. "You came," Vorn said. His voice echoed in the empty space. "I thought you might run, like the scared little human you are." Una walked forward until she was 10 meters from him. She unwrapped her sword and let the cloth fall to the ground. The dark blade caught the moonlight and seemed to drink it in. "I do not run," she said. Vorn laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Brave words. Let us see if you can back them up. No rules this time. No instructor to save you. Just you and me until one of us cannot fight anymore." Tira stepped forward. "Maybe we should make it more fair. 4 against 1 sounds better, does it not?" She pulled out her plasma whip, and it crackled with energy. "No." Vorn held up his hand. "This is my fight. I will handle her myself. You are here to watch. Nothing more." Tira looked disappointed, but she stepped back. The rock beings stayed where they were, blocking the doors. Una took a deep breath. Her heart was beating fast, but her mind was calm. She thought about her grandmother, about all those years of training in the mountains. She thought about Instructor Kang's words. She thought about the Titans, those ancient monsters that once threatened to destroy her world. Her ancestors had faced those horrors and won. Vorn was nothing compared to that. "Ready?" Vorn asked. He did not wait for an answer. He charged. This time, he was different. In the arena, he had been confident, almost lazy. Now he was serious. His attacks came faster, harder, with no wasted movement. His plasma sword screamed through the air, leading trails of blue fire. Una moved. She stepped and turned and ducked, always just ahead of the blade. The heat touched her skin, so close she could smell her hair burning. But she did not panic. She watched Vorn's movements, learned his rhythm, waited for her chance. But Vorn was learning too. He saw how she moved, how she always stepped to the left. He adjusted. His next strike came from an unexpected angle, and Una barely dodged in time. The plasma blade cut through her sleeve and left a red burn on her arm. Pain flared through her body. Una stumbled back, her teeth clenched. First blood to Vorn. "Not so fast now, are you?" Vorn grinned, showing all his teeth. "Your little tricks will not work twice, human." He attacked again, pressing his advantage. Una defended desperately, her grandmother's sword meeting his plasma blade again and again. The old metal should have melted instantly, but it did not. Each time the weapons touched, there was a flash of strange light and a sound like distant thunder. The plasma blade slid away like it had hit something too hard to cut. Vorn's grin faded. "What is this? Why will your sword not break?" Una did not answer. She was focused completely on the fight, on the rhythm of attack and defense. Her arm was burning with pain, but she pushed it aside. Pain was just a signal, her grandmother used to say. You can choose to ignore it. They fought across the hangar floor. Dust rose around them in clouds. The watching aliens stood frozen, their eyes wide. They had never seen anything like this. The primitive human sword was holding against the most advanced plasma weapon in the galaxy. Vorn's attacks grew wilder, more desperate. He could not understand what was happening. He was stronger, faster, better armed. He should have won in seconds. But this human, this weak little creature, kept fighting. "Why will you not fall?" he roared. "Why will you not die?" Una felt something change. Deep inside her, something woke up. Something old and fierce and hungry. It rose from her heart and spread through her body like fire through dry wood. Her grandmother's sword began to hum in her hands. A low sound, barely audible, like a beast waking from a long sleep. The air in the hangar grew cold. The floating dust stopped moving. Tira took a step back, her smile gone. Even the rock beings looked nervous. "What is happening?" the silver creature whispered. Its mirror eyes reflected something impossible. In them, Una saw herself, but different. Taller, stronger, wrapped in shadows that moved like living things. Yuna looked at Vorn. She saw him. Clearly now, saw every weakness in his stance, every gap in his defense. She saw the fear growing in his yellow eyes. "Do you know what titans are?" she asked. Her voice was strange, deeper than before, echoing with something ancient. Vorn did not answer. His hands were shaking. They were monsters from the void between stars. They destroyed worlds. They killed species that thought they were powerful. Una raised her sword. The metal was glowing now, soft and dark like the light of a dying sun. My ancestors hunted them. They forged blades from their bones and cooled them in their blood. They learned to fight things that should not be fought. She stepped forward. Vorn stepped back. This sword has cut through Titan flesh. It has pierced Titan hearts. It has ended creatures older than your species first thought. Another step. Do you really think your little plasma toy can compare? Vorn's face twisted with fear and rage. You are lying. Humans are weak. Everyone knows this. Everyone is wrong. Vorn screamed and attacked with all his strength. He put everything into one massive strike, all his power, all his desperation. The plasma blade came down like a falling star, bright enough to blind. Una moved. She did not step aside this time. She moved forward, into the attack. Her sword came up in a perfect arc, catching Vorn's blade at just the right angle. There was a flash of light brighter than anything the watching aliens had ever seen. A sound like reality breaking. A wave of force that knocked everyone back. And then silence. Vorn stood frozen, his arms still raised. His plasma sword was gone. Not broken. Not deactivated. Gone. Una's blade had cut through it like it was nothing but smoke. The weapon's energy core lay in two pieces on the ground, sparking weakly before dying completely. Una's sword rested against Vorn's chest, right over his heart. One push, and it would be over. Yield, she said. Her voice was her own again, soft and calm. Or do not. The choice is yours. Vorn's yellow eyes were full of terror. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His knees gave way, and he fell to the ground, shaking. "I yield," he whispered. "I yield." Una lowered her sword. The glow faded. The humming stopped. It was just an old blade again, dark and quiet in her hands. She looked at the others. Tira, the rock beings, the silver creature. They stared at her with something she had never seen in alien eyes before. Respect and fear. "Tell everyone what you saw here tonight," Una said. "Tell them about the human and her ancient sword. Tell them we are not what they think we are." She picked up her cloth, wrapped her grandmother's blade, and walked out of the hangar without looking back. Behind her, no one moved or spoke for a very long time. News traveled fast at the academy. By sunrise, everyone knew what had happened in the old hangar. The story spread from room to room, from hall to hall, growing stranger and more incredible with each telling. The human girl had done something impossible. She had cut through a plasma sword. She had brought Vorn to his knees. She had shown powers that no human was supposed to have. Una did not go to her morning classes. She sat in her room, holding her grandmother's sword, trying to understand what had happened. That power she had felt during the fight, that ancient fire in her blood, it had faded now. She felt normal again, small and ordinary. But the sword was different. She could feel it humming softly in her hands, like a cat purring. It recognized her now. It knew her. Whatever had been sleeping inside it had woken up, and it was not going back to sleep. A knock on her door. Yuna looked up. "Come in." The door opened, and Instructor Kang stepped inside. He looked older than before, tired, like he had not slept all night. But his eyes were bright with emotion. "I heard what happened," he said. "May I sit?" Yuna nodded toward the chair by her desk. Kang sat down heavily, his old bones creaking. "You did well," he said. "Better than I expected. The sword responded to you. That is rare. Very rare. What am I?" Yuna asked. The question had been burning in her mind all night. What happened to me in that hangar? I felt like I was someone else. Something else. Kang was quiet for a long moment. He stared at the floor, gathering his thoughts. When he spoke, his voice was soft and sad. "What do you know about human history, Yuna? Our real history before the Galactic Federation found us?" Yuna shrugged. "We evolved on Earth. We built cities. We fought wars. Then the aliens came and showed us we were not alone. That is what they teach in schools," Kang said. "But it is not the whole truth. The real history is older and darker." He looked up at her with those ancient eyes. "Millions of years ago, before humans were humans, something came to Earth. The Titans. Beings of pure chaos, born in the empty spaces between galaxies. They consumed worlds like we consume bread. They had destroyed 1,000 civilizations before they found our little blue planet. But they failed," Yuna said. "You told me. Our ancestors fought them." "Yes," Kang nodded. "No one knows exactly how. Some say we found a power hidden deep in the earth. Some say we were changed, evolved in a single generation into something that could fight back. Some say we made a deal with forces beyond understanding." He pointed at her sword. "All we know is that our ancestors forged weapons that could hurt the Titans. Blades made from impossible metal, touched by impossible power. And with those weapons, we drove the Titans away." "Then why does no one remember?" Yuna asked. "Why does the galaxy think we are weak?" "Because we chose to forget." Kang's voice was heavy with old grief. After the Titans were gone, humanity looked at what it had become. We were powerful, yes, but we were also terrifying. We had the ability to destroy anything we touched. Our leaders decided this power was too dangerous. They hid the weapons. They erased the records. They rewrote our history to make us seem harmless. Why would they do that? Fear. Kang smiled bitterly. Not fear of the Titans. Fear of ourselves. Fear of what we might do if we remembered what we really were. So they took the easy path. They made us forget. They let us become soft and ordinary. And the galaxy looked at us and saw only a weak species, lucky to have survived. Yuna looked at her grandmother's sword. But grandmother kept this. She did not forget. Your grandmother came from a line of guardians. Families who kept the old weapons safe, who passed down the old stories in secret. She was one of the last. Kang's eyes grew wet. I knew her when we were young. We trained together. We loved together. Then she chose to leave Earth, to hide on a mountain and wait for someone worthy to carry on the legacy. Me, Yuna whispered. You. Kang nodded. She saw something in you, Yuna. Something I can see now. The old power is still in your blood, sleeping, waiting to be awakened. That sword did not make you strong last night. It only unlocked what was already inside you. A long silence filled the room. Yuna felt the weight of his words pressing down on her. She was not just a girl with an old sword. She was the last of a line of warriors who had once saved their world from monsters. She carried a legacy older than most civilizations in the galaxy. "What do I do now?" she asked. Before Kang could answer, there was another knock on the door. This one was louder, more urgent. "Cadet Yuna." The voice belonged to Master Bora. "Please come to the main hall immediately. There is something you need to see." Yuna looked at Kang. The old instructor nodded slowly. They rose together and walked out of the room. The main hall was full. Every cadet at the academy had gathered there, standing in a massive crowd that filled the space from wall to wall. When Yuna entered, they all turned to look at her. The noise died instantly. Silence hung in the air like fog. Master Bora stood on the central platform. Behind him, on the wall, a huge screen showed an image that made Yuna's heart stop. It was a map of the galaxy. And at the edge, in the dark spaces between stars, something was moving. A shape so large it was hard to understand. A massive shadow and fire that seemed to swallow the light around it. "Cadets," Master Bora said, his voice grave. "Last night, our deep space sensors detected something we hoped we would never see again. A Titan has been spotted at the edge of the Federation's territory. It is moving toward inhabited space. Current estimates suggest it will reach the first populated planet in 6 months." Gasps and cries rose from the crowd. Some cadets looked terrified. Others looked angry. Many looked confused, having grown up thinking Titans were just old myths. Master Bora raised his hand for silence. "The Federation Council has been informed. Fleets are being mobilized. But our weapons have never been tested against the Titan. We do not know if anything we have can stop it." He turned and looked directly at Yuna. Every eye in the hall followed his gaze. "There is, however, something that might work." He gestured to the screen. It changed, showing ancient records, drawings of weapons that looked like Yuna's sword, images of humans fighting against impossible monsters. The old Earth records speak of weapons forged specifically to kill Titans. Weapons that were hidden when humanity chose to forget. If those weapons still exist, if someone knows how to use them— He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Yuna felt thousands of eyes on her. She felt their hope, their fear, their desperate need for someone to save them. She felt the sword humming in her hands, ready, eager, awake. Instructor Kang stepped forward. His old body seemed to grow taller, stronger. "I know where the weapons are hidden," he announced. "I know how to find them. And I know how to teach others to use them." He turned to Yuna and bowed. "A deep bow, the kind given to warriors and heroes. Will you lead them, Yuna? Will you help me wake up humanity's true legacy?" The hall was silent. Everyone watched. Everything waited. Yun thought about her grandmother. She thought about the mountains of Earth, the cold morning air, the endless hours of practice. She thought about all the times she had felt weak and small and insignificant. She was not weak. She had never been weak. She was the heir of Titan hunters, carrying a sword forged in the blood of gods. She raised her blade high above her head. The dark metal caught the light and shone like a black sun. "I will lead them," she said. Her voice rang out strong and clear. "I will teach them what we are. And when the Titan comes, we will show the galaxy what humanity really means." The silence broke. The hall erupted in cheers. Cadets who had mocked her, who had looked down on her, now shouted her name. They saw hope where there had been despair. They saw strength where there had been weakness. Yuna stood on the platform, holding her grandmother's sword, looking out at a universe that was about to remember why it should never have forgotten humanity. The Titans were coming, and this time, humanity was ready.